You're making too big a deal out of this, honey. This is a great house. I got a great buy on it.
Yeah, from who? Dracula?
You're listening to the Fun with Horror podcast with your hosts, Scotty and Andrew.
Hello, everybody. This is Scotty.
And this is Colby.
And welcome to episode number 147 of Fun with Horror. I'm sure you've noticed, but that was not Andrew. That was our good buddy, Colby, of Colby Does Horror. Everybody give him a round of applause. Hi, Colby.
How you doing, Scotty?
I am good. Let's explain a little something. So, Andrew, my dear Andrew, is very busy right now. Very, very busy. Our normal episode that would be coming out today, the day that this episode is out, is having to be pushed a week. So, Colby and I had already talked about doing a series of the Leprechaun movies. So, what better time to start with the first Leprechaun movie than right now, where everybody gets to hear it, and then we're going to do the rest of the Leprechaun movies on our Patreon. Everybody, if you want to hear Colby and I talking about Leprechaun 2, Leprechaun 3, Leprechaun in Space, Leprechaun in the Hood, Leprechaun Back in the Hood, Leprechaun Returns, and then Leprechaun Origins, right? Did I get them all?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been studying, buddy.
I mean, when you asked me to do the Leprechaun movies, I was ecstatic. I love these movies. There's two that I don't like, but I think most of them get better from the original. So I'm excited.
Yeah, we'll talk about that because I watched them behind the scenes and I think I understand why it kind of got better after the original.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get into that. First of all, how are you, Colby?
Man, I've been great. I've been really busy. Been trying to do a lot of big things, but I've been doing good, man. How have you been?
I've been surviving. Crazy year, but we're trucking along, and a lot of good movies are coming out. So, what have you seen lately?
Man, I watch so many movies every day to try to put content out. But some notable ones, I saw Presence in the theater. I actually got to go see that with Brian from Chuddle the Pod and Mike from the Horror Junkies when I was in New York, so that was really fun.
Awesome.
I watched Companion last week. Loved it.
Ooh, that's exciting.
I was a big fan of Companion. I didn't think I was going to like it because of the marketing giving everything away in the trailer, but I loved it. And I was very surprised as well because it was a January release.
I got a question for you. Do you kind of have to watch trailers for your channel, or
kind
can
of
you skip them?
For big ones, I try to do like reactions just because people like that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't really planning on doing anything like that for Companion, but I saw the full trailer when I saw Wolfman. And I saw the teaser and I was like, this looks awesome. I can't wait for it. And then when I was at Wolfman, I saw the full trailer and I was like kind of shocked that they gave away the main plot of the movie.
Wow.
So I was kind of disappointed, but after I saw it, there's a couple other twists that they don't give away. They're not like huge, but it was cool seeing a couple twists that I didn't know about.
Well, then I'm going to say right now that I'm thankful that I don't watch trailers and I haven't seen the trailer for Companion. So
yeah, and it's hard to, because I go see at least 2 to 3 movies a week in the movie theater. So it's kind of hard to try not to, I try not to pay attention. Like I'll go on my phone for trailers, but sometimes I don't have a lot of self-control, so I still watch them.
Yeah, I just look down at my hand. Like I don't even look up. I sit there and I fiddle with my fingers or what have you. I'm sure I look like a psycho to the people next to me, but I don't care. Also, I've heard a rumor that you are a big movie star now.
Yeah, that's why I was in New York. I got asked to, I thought it was just going to be a cameo when they first started talking to me.
Yeah.
But I got asked to be in a movie called The Willowbrook Tapes.
Mm.
And when they were explaining what they were going to do, they wanted to make me the pivotal kill in the movie. Like, they wanted this scene to be like the hacksaw scene in Terrifier. So I have a scene kind of like that in a movie called The Willowbrook Tapes. It was shot in Staten Island. It is about the Willowbrook Hospital. If you've seen the movie Cropsy, the mockumentary Cropsy.
I have not.
Yeah, it's about like that insane asylum in Staten Island, and it has to do with like occults and stuff like that. So I'm very excited. They're going to try to get it out October 2025.
That's super exciting.
Yeah, it was cool. I worked with a lot of cool people. One of the guy who made the props for me, his name is Nick of the Living Dead. You could follow him on Instagram. He's done work on Terrifier 3. He graduated from the Tom Savini special effects school. And then the woman who did my makeup, her name is Beatrice Snipe. And she's actually done work on the Terrifier movies. She just got done working on Hell House Lineage, which she gave me a couple insights about. But she, oh my, I cannot even explain. Like, she is a wizard with effects makeup. So
Nice.
I'm really excited for everyone to see this movie.
Yeah, I was lucky enough. I don't know if we even want to say what they were, but you showed me a couple of body parts in a baggie that they gave you to take home that were body parts that were cut off of you.
Yes. Did I show you the prosthetic of my head? Did I send you that picture?
Yes. Yes. You
Okay.
did. I think.
Yeah, so she
I'm pretty
made
sure you
that.
did.
She sculpted that whole thing. She has all my like neck tattoos, my head tattoos on it.
Wow.
And
wow.
the way she did it, like I just took like pictures of my face and sent it to her, and she sculpted that whole thing just from that.
Dude, that's so cool.
Like she has my cauliflower ear. She has my gauges, like the holes in my ears from when I used to have my ears stretched. It's crazy.
Honestly, had no idea that that's a cauliflower ear. I can't even tell.
When it's up close, you can see it, or in my videos.
Yeah. Because I don't know if people know, but you used to, or you are, or you do, you MMA fight. You're an MMA fighter.
Yeah, I used to. My last fight was in like 2021, but now I have too many kids. My knees and body don't hold up like they used to. I'm in the gym once in a while just to stay in shape and help coach once in a while, but
was that last fight the broken leg debacle or whatever?
No, that was actually after I finished actual fighting, like MMA and stuff. I just competed in jiu-jitsu for a while, did a couple like professional grappling matches, stuff like that. But yeah, it was a hobby. Like I never expected to go anywhere with it. Like I went 4-1 in MMA. Like I did decent, but COVID kind of derailed like the fighting promotion and stuff like that. So it was just,
oh man, that sucks.
But it was fun. Like it's something I get to say I did.
What was the debacle? Because I mean, we don't want to leave people hanging. They're going to be like, well, what did he do to a leg?
So there's a video that went viral on TikTok and Instagram. I was actually losing this match, and this guy put himself in a position for me to do a submission on his ankle, and he didn't tap, and I ended up snapping his ankle.
Oh,
and like
man.
you can hear like the snap in the video. If
Like-
you go
like
on my
broken.
if you go on my MMA page, it's just Colby Keith MMA. It's there if you have a strong stomach, if you want to watch it.
It's not that bad. I've seen it. It's not that bad. Like I think the more enjoyable part of it is the look of just pure, like, you're so sorry. You can see immediately how like bad you feel for what you did.
Yeah, I felt horrible.
Yeah.
That's
You're a good
that's
guy.
actually
You're a good guy, Colby.
That's actually what's funny, because my coaches almost didn't let me start fighting because they didn't think I had like killer instinct because I'm too nice.
Oh my God. That's true.
But I proved them wrong pretty fast.
Awesome. Yeah, well, I would never wrestle with you, so. Okay, well let's talk about a little leprechaun guy.
I'm so ready.
Alex, do you think you could kill a leprechaun?
Ozzy, you can kill anything. You just gotta know how to do it.
Leprechaun was written and directed by Mark Jones, and it stars Warwick Davis as the leprechaun, the amazing Jennifer Aniston as Tori, Ken Olandt as Nathan, Mark Holton as Ozzy, and Robert Gorman as Alex. And now, Colby, we come to the part where we talk about what we think of this movie from 1993 without spoilers. So, Leprechaun, the original Leprechaun, what do you think of this movie?
It doesn't hold up. I don't think it holds up, but it never was like a great movie, but I still have fun with it. I think the makeup is amazing on Warwick Davis. The effects are okay. The effects at the end, I think, are fantastic. But it's just a fun movie, I think.
Okay. When did you see it first? Did you see it back when it came out or what?
Probably when it came out and you said 93.
Yeah.
So I was 3 years old when it came out. So I probably saw it around 5 or 6.
Okay.
But I mean, the makeup scared the heck out of me.
It did scare you. That's an interesting thing. That's something I wanted to talk about. So,
I mean, just seeing the images of it, it scared me, and I was like scared to watch the movie. But once I watched it, I realized it's funny, and he's got like a goofy personality. So obviously, my fear went away after seeing the movie itself. Okay. But I think the makeup's pretty iconic because, it definitely did scare me as a kid.
Okay, so I don't think I saw this movie in full until like 2 years ago. Like I am so late to the Leprechaun series, and that's why I'm curious about doing all of the movies, talking about them with you on Patreon. And I'm glad we're doing this one on the main podcast because this is obviously the one everybody thinks about. I didn't love this movie. I gave it a pretty low score on Letterboxd. I'm like you. I don't think it holds up. I do understand that it's meant to be funny. It's meant to be silly in a lot of respects. But I think sometimes the silliness is carried a little bit too far, and it's just a little bit too dumb to be funny at times. You know, no offense to anybody that worked on it. No offense to Jennifer Aniston. So, but yeah, I mean, that's basically, I think I gave it, the first time I saw it, I gave it 2.5 stars, and I think that even dropped to 2. But I love talking about it, and I can't wait to watch the other ones because I have heard, just like you said, I've heard that they do actually get better.
Yeah, I enjoy the others way more.
So, well, that means we are about to enter spoiler territory. So if you haven't seen the original Leprechaun from 1993 with Jennifer Aniston in it, we are about to spoil it from beginning to end. Not that there's a lot to be spoiled, but
it's a very simple movie.
It's very simple. And that's a good thing because now, Colby, it's time for the 3-minute recap. And as Andrew and I do, I have a virtual 20-sided die on my phone here. I'm going to start rolling it, and you're going to tell me when to stop. And if it lands on an odd number, you're doing the 3-minute recap. And if it lands on an even number, I'll be doing it. Perfect. So you tell me when to stop. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Well, it landed on number 2. It looks like I'm doing it. I'm going to hope that Warwick Davis doesn't show up at my door telling me how disappointed he is in my 3-minute recap. So you just tell me when to go. I'm not prepared for this at all, but you tell me when to start and I'll start.
You can go ahead and start.
I got you for 3 minutes. 3 minutes of playtime.
All right, so Leprechaun begins with an old man who brings, well, I mean, I guess he's old. He may be younger than I am. I don't know. But he's an older dude. He's Irish, but he lives in America. He brings home a bag of gold to his wife and their house, but he's got a suitcase too, right? And where's the crate? There's a crate. See, I'm already off to a terrible start. Anyway, the leprechaun appears. Leprechaun wants his gold. He makes the wife trip down the stairs, and she dies. And then the old man has a heart attack in the kitchen, but not before the old man pushes with a 4-leaf clover. He backs the leprechaun into a crate, into a box, and seals it up. And he puts the 4-leaf clover on the box, which means that the leprechaun can't escape. But then the old man has a heart attack, and we think he's dead. Jump 10 years in the future, and we have Tori and her father. They're moving into this house that used to be the home of the O'Grady's. We find out their names are. She's there. They're moving into this really dusty, nasty house. Nathan shows up with Ozzy and Alex. They are painters, I guess, handymen. While they're doing stuff, I forget what happens, but somehow the clover, the 4-leaf clover, is blown off of the crate. Ozzy goes down to the basement, and the leprechaun jumps out. Doesn't do anything yet, but he jumps out. Then Ozzy tells everybody that there's a leprechaun in the basement, but guess what? Ozzy is a little bit slow. So everybody thinks he's just telling fibs and making up stories, especially when they go down to the basement and a rat comes out, and they think, oh, it's just a rat. So now the leprechaun is out. Let's see what happens. The leprechaun, oh my God, what does he do? I don't know. He bites people. Does he kill somebody right away or no? No, he doesn't kill anybody. He wants his gold. So a rainbow appears, and it points to the bag of gold, which is in this rundown truck. Ozzy and Alex find it. Ozzy accidentally swallows one of the gold coins, and then Alex hides the rest of them. Then the leprechaun comes out, and it scratches Tori's leg at one point, and then it mangles her dad's hand. It makes the sound of a cat. Her dad sticks his hand into the tree, and then it mangles his hand. So the dad goes to the hospital where he remains for the rest of the movie. We never see the dad again. So now Alex and Ozzy go to this store, and they're checking on the gold, right? They're seeing what it is. Is that right? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, the pawn shop.
Yeah, the pawn shop. Well, the leprechaun turns up at the pawn shop, but his gold's not there anymore, and he kills the pawn shop owner. We'll talk about that later because that was a pretty cool kill. And then we go back to the house, and the rest of the movie basically takes place over this one night, where they realize that the leprechaun wants his gold back. They try and get it back. The leprechaun, it kills a cop at one point. Wow. It doesn't kill anybody else, does it? It only kills the cop and the pogo. Oh, and then, okay.
One more kill.
Tori goes and finds out that O'Grady's still alive. She goes to the hospital, the mental or the old person's home where O'Grady is, and he tells her that she's got to put a 4-leaf clover. She's got to pick a fresh 4-leaf clover, put it on the leprechaun, and then the leprechaun will be able to be killed. So she finds a patch of clovers. She eventually finds a 4-leaf clover. Shenanigans ensue. Oh, Alex gets a slingshot and slingshots the 4-leaf clover on a piece of gum into the leprechaun's mouth. Leprechaun falls down the well, which is a pretty cool well, I gotta say. He falls down the well, and then he's coming back up, and they pour gasoline down the well and light it on fire, which somehow makes the well completely explode. The last thing we hear is just the leprechaun saying something, I want me gold or something, I forget. What does he say at the end, Colby?
Something about how he'll get his gold back.
There you go. And that's the end of the movie. That's Leprechaun.
That was a very good recap, and you came in just under 3 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Oh, man. So here's the thing about this movie. When I start watching it, I have fun. All right? It is a fun movie, as you've said.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous, but it has fun moments. But, man, there always comes a point in this movie where I just find myself looking at my phone. I get distracted really easily. But I agree with everything you said. I think the makeup is incredible. I think some of the special effects are really good. Yeah, so, I mean, let's talk about this movie. So, what don't you like about it? What do you think doesn't hold up?
The acting.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Actually, I don't know if it's the acting or just the cliches of the characters, especially Jennifer Aniston.
Oh,
I
Jennifer
wish it had a
Aniston.
higher body count.
Okay.
Because, I mean, the pacing does give me some issues because of the body count, but I think it's funny and still fun in between.
Interesting. So I did find out that this movie was originally supposed to be a PG-13 movie.
Yep. Do you know when they switched?
After the producers and the studio saw the first cut of the movie, right?
Mhm.
They saw a screening of the movie and they thought that it needed to be scarier and gorier. So they brought in another guy to kind of finish it up. Because, yeah, I did watch some of the bonus features, and that stuff was pretty interesting. And it explains why a lot of people think that the later movies are better, right?
Because that's when they went full, like, this is going to be rated R from start to finish.
Yeah. Yeah. So I forget the guy's name, but they brought him in, and he added like the entire cop scene.
Yep.
You've seen all this? You know all this?
Yep. I watched the special features as well.
I love a Leprechaun expert. Yeah, so they brought this guy in, evidently. So when the cop pulls over the Leprechaun in the car, the little toy car that the Leprechaun is in, the original movie ended with the Leprechaun grabbing his face, the cop's face, and you just don't know what happened. But in this, like, they added this full scene where the Leprechaun chases the cop through the forest, which I thought was pretty dumb, to be honest.
Yeah, it's very pointless and just kind of dragged a little bit.
Yes. Yes. Like, he should have just killed the cop right there somehow. Like, and had the death scene.
It would have been. And the way he killed the cop, I just thought it was stupid and still looked PG-13.
Well, I just love the fact that the cop is going through the woods and the Leprechaun's kind of stalking him and disappearing and reappearing between trees. And then the cop sits down by a tree and then just decides that the Leprechaun has gone away. And he's like, oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. And it's like, what are you thanking God for? Like, the Leprechaun's still there, idiot. But yeah. Yeah, evidently, so you know that Mark Jones, the director, was actually offered money not to direct this movie.
I didn't know. I didn't see that part.
Yeah. So he was a first-time director. He wrote this script because he wanted to direct this movie. The studio, TriStar Pictures, they didn't really want a brand new director on this movie. They didn't really have faith in him. But he kept trying, and he would not take money not to direct it. And then I think it was when they saw his screenboards or whatever. Sorry, the storyboards. When they saw the storyboards, they were like, all right, let's give this guy a shot. But then, you know, they still kept an eye on him for a couple of days. Wait, let's go back to Jennifer Aniston. I thought she was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I thought her acting was fine. This was her first theatrical release. She was, 22 years old?
Something like that. I didn't look.
I thought her acting was fine, but her character, it was just so, like, cliche after cliche. Just like the typical city girl, icky, I don't like outdoors type of thing.
No, that I agree with. I completely agree with that.
And then when her leg was getting caressed and she thought it was the Temu Kevin Bacon under the car, after
Temu
she
Kevin
just saw
Bacon.
him painting the house, and then she turns around and something just rubbing her leg.
And she's like, oh, she's all happy about it.
Yeah, just the dumb city girl cliches.
I will say that when he does arrive with her dad and she's like, I thought it was you. And he's like, and you let me?
Yeah.
He was good. That was Ken Olandt, who I'm sure you know what he's been in. Or do you?
I don't. I can look it up.
Did you ever see Summer School?
Summer School. I haven't.
Okay. Have you seen April Fool's Day?
A very long time ago.
Okay. So he was in both of those movies. I remember him in both of them. He's good in both of them, but he's a very good looking dude. And I thought he did a good job. I thought he was great in this.
Yeah, I really liked him. The only reason I say Temu Kevin Bacon is because he just looks like a knockoff version of early Kevin Bacon, like from Tremors or something like that. I think he's a great actor. I thought he killed it, but
yeah,
that's just what I kept thinking about.
I could get that. See, if you don't remember him in his earlier movies or the other movies he did, then I can totally see that. But then we have Mark Holton as Ozzy, and I know you know him from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Yep,
I love Ozzy and Alex. Those are my two favorite characters in the movie.
Now, Alex was interesting. He's played by Robert Gorman. You know, I didn't think about what year this movie came out, but holy crap, that kid is almost a spitting image, in my opinion, of the kid in Poltergeist.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, they're fun. I mean, they both do a good job, but like you, I think, Ozzy kind of plays a cliche, slow person,
Yes.
So I think the script is what is weak here.
Did you see Stream yet?
No.
So Mark is actually in that movie as well.
What?
Yeah. So usually movies that have a huge, like all these horror icons cast, like Mark Holton's in it, Felissa Rose, Bill Moseley, Tony Todd, all of them.
Yeah.
Usually movies like that, like they just use that to bring people in and they don't end up being very good. But Stream was awesome.
Okay.
So I definitely recommend you check that one out.
What you're talking about, I've heard with Forest Hills. That's the one with, yeah, see, you're shaking your head. Shelley Duvall and
Edward Furlong.
Eddie Furlong, and Felissa's in that one too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, they use the big names to try and sell the movie, and I've heard it's really not that good.
Yeah, I watched it and I didn't review it.
Oh, okay. Because you're like me, kind of like you don't really love to bag on movies, and I appreciate that.
No, especially when it comes to indie horror, I just choose not to review them.
Yeah. Let's go to Warwick Davis, of course. He's obviously the star of this movie.
Yes.
And he is amazing. In the bonus features, he talks about how this was a really attractive part for him because he was so used to playing good guys. He played an Ewok, and he was in Willow, obviously.
Willow.
This was a role he was really looking forward to playing. Did you know he got lung infection during filming?
I did not.
Yeah, evidently they shot this in a bunch of locations in north of LA, they said.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't say exactly where. And I could tell it looked like the countryside of northern LA. I guess when they shot it, it was super cold. Even with the makeup and stuff, he said it was like he would freeze to the bone. And evidently, yeah, he got really sick. He got a lung infection. And then so they had to shoot a bunch of stuff with a body doubles and everything. So yeah. But the scenes he's in, he's amazing. So
yeah, absolutely.
Like, I don't want to jump ahead, but I'm really looking forward to seeing how he evolves with the role.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not wanting to jump ahead, but I was going to ask you what your favorite Leprechaun movie is.
My favorite is either part 2 or Leprechaun in the Hood.
Interesting. So I'm just going to go out on a limb here and guess that the two you don't like are the ones without Warwick.
I thought Returns was great.
Okay, good.
But the ones I don't like are Origins. I think Origins is almost unwatchable.
Ooh.
And then Space is pretty bad.
And we have to end with Origins. Like, that's going to be our last one.
Actually, Origins released before Returns.
It did? Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Returns is actually pretty good.
We can finish on a high note.
Yeah. And then just so you know, there is a returning cast member in the last one.
Oh, man. What do we even talk about with this movie?
It's just such a simple movie. Like, how it starts off, it's kind of gives like a really lazy summary of the background of Leprechaun. Like, he's sitting there counting his gold while there's like a voiceover talking about how if anyone ever takes his gold, that he'll kill them.
I don't even remember that voiceover.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then it cuts right to the Grady's.
Yeah, the O'Grady's. And that was my favorite part about that is that I think the O'Grady brings out a bottle of Jameson's whiskey,
mm-hmm.
and because of, I guess, copyrights or whatever, they taped off the J, so it's just Ameson's. And it's just like so obvious, whereas like they were a little more clever with it later. Like, I forget what they called Lucky Charms, but Lucky Clovers, I think.
Yeah, Lucky Clovers.
So that was pretty funny. Yeah, the makeup of the Leprechaun. Now, does he ever get a name? Again, I hate to ask spoilers for later, but does he ever get a name, or is he just always the Leprechaun?
Just the Leprechaun, I think. I don't remember him ever getting an actual name.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's fair. So this scared you when you were a kid a little bit, like the image of the leprechaun,
Yeah, just the imagery. It's terrifying.
because that's what has always like not bugged me, but it's something I've always thought about with this movie. And it's
Mhm.
one reason I didn't see it for a long time. I was like, how is this a horror movie? How can this be scary to anybody? But there you go. I mean, I guess if you're 3 or 4 years old, but when you saw this movie at 5 years old, the movie itself didn't scare you.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. Like just like the little mannerisms he has, him riding the tricycle, the little car, and
Yeah.
the scene that I think is the funniest in this movie is when he's going back and forth between that little space in the hallway on the skateboard, and he's like in a different position every time.
I tried to take a picture of a freeze frame of him skating by, and because of the resolution of the movie,
Mhm.
which I mean it's 1080p, but still it's just like a blurry shot of this guy, and I posted it to our friends at Shuttle the Pod, and
Mhm.
some of them were like, I thought it was a person sitting on a toilet at first. Because I was telling Sam that this is a skating movie. He loves skating movies. And I was like, look,
Yeah.
Leprechaun's a skating movie. There you go. You love it. Okay, so that's your funniest part. My favorite part in this movie, the part that I thought was funniest, was just the whole thing with the shining the shoes.
Yes, that too. Like if he sees shoes, he just like stop and shine them. It's just
Yeah.
like he what's a good word for it? Like he kept getting so distracted when he was looking for the gold. Like he had like ADD, ADHD kicking in because he was looking for the gold, but he stops to eat the lucky clovers. He stops to shine a bunch of shoes. It's
Yeah.
just so comical.
And when they actually use the shoes to stop him from chasing one of them, chasing Tori. See, now that was funny too. The whole movie doesn't make sense. There's so many little things. Like Tori goes to the old people's home, assisted living facility, to find O'Grady, and she goes into his room, and it's the leprechaun pretending to be O'Grady.
Yeah.
But then she backs into an elevator, and O'Grady's body just happens to be on the ceiling of the elevator, and that's when he tells her about the 4-leaf clover.
Yep.
So,
The chase scene in the wheelchair as well.
oh my God, the
It
sped
looks so
the
bad.
sped up
Yeah, you
camera
can just
shots.
tell. Yep, you just tell it's sped up.
So that all gets better with the next movie and beyond.
Yeah, I would say so. They're definitely still funny, but they cut back a lot more on the comedy and ramp up the gore and the horror a bit more.
You know, when I was watching this, one of my main thoughts was that I feel like, Nightmare on Elm Street, it started with a scary Freddy.
Mhm.
But as Freddy became more popular and they realized that people loved Freddy's like quips, his lines, they started to make Freddy into more of a funny, he's a killer, he's still a killer, but he had all these like funny lines and stuff. And
Mhm.
I feel like they were trying to emulate Freddy after they realized he was popular. Like they didn't give the leprechaun a chance to really be scary first and then kind of get funny as people realized how ridiculous a killer leprechaun is.
I totally agree.
Having not seen the movies, I imagine that at least one of those two movies later in the series, either Returns or Origins, and you don't have to really tell me because we'll get there.
Mm.
But I imagine one of them at least has to try and do what I was wishing this movie had done, which was actually try and make the leprechaun scary and try and turn him into an actual, like somebody, not somebody you want to laugh at, but somebody that's like, Jesus, that would scare the hell out of me if this happened. So
They try.
they try.
But did you catch that Nightmare on Elm Street reference?
Yes.
It's when Jennifer Aniston's on the phone and like when Nancy's on the phone, the tongue sticks out. But this time with Jennifer Aniston, like a little hand sticks out from the bottom of the phone.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was no commentary or anything or no mention of it, but that's got to be an homage, right?
It has to be.
So that's how I feel about the movie. I did love, every time Warwick was on the screen, I did love watching him.
Mm-hmm.
He's so much fun. And one thing I do appreciate is that he's not trying to be mysterious at all.
No.
At the beginning, he is kind of avoiding the people, but as soon as it gets to the part where, what's his face? Nathan gets his legs stuck in the trap,
Yeah.
like freaking the leprechaun just comes out.
And then he gets beat up right away.
Yeah, he gets beat up. And then Tori comes out and she's like hitting him, but then the leprechaun like gets knocked away, but then he runs right back into it. Like he's just like he doesn't care.
It's so goofy and makes no sense.
Oh man, this movie. Now, the one part that did scare me, I will say. I know you say Tori is a cliche and that city girl out in the country, but let me tell you, buddy, if I went to a house in North LA and I went down in the basement and I saw a tarantula crawling around, I would run out of that basement too.
I'm terrified of spiders.
Oh, you too?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my brother. I got so many notes. It was weird to see people smoking cigarettes inside of a cafe.
Yes.
I mean, I know it's 1993, but it still was weird to me, right?
Yes. Sorry, my cat was scratching at the door.
Oh, all good.
Yeah, it's still like some states still allow that, and I still think I think it's so icky and so weird.
Really? I didn't know that anybody still allowed it.
I know they did like a few years ago. Like I think there's certain places in Wisconsin, but I mean it's Wisconsin. Wisconsin's like a whole nother country itself. But
No
yeah.
offense to anybody from Wisconsin that's listening to this.
I live like right on the border of Illinois and Wisconsin, so.
Oh wow. Okay.
But yeah, it's just I remember when I lived in Florida, people still did it in Florida. I think it was Florida. I can't remember.
I mean, I know people still did it because I used to visit my family in Florida every year, and for a long time, people still smoked inside. And I'm pretty sure that by the end of this 4 years coming up, that smoking indoors will be reinstated somehow. So
I think they're already trying to allow meth indoors in public places.
Oh, good. that sounds extreme, but cool. The leprechaun is 600 years old, Colby. That's how old the leprechaun is.
He's just a young lad.
Yeah. I like after the cop is killed, Tori, they come back to the house and she makes a big deal out of wanting to leave, and she goes outside and then she comes back saying it's too dark, right?
Yeah.
But then like less than a minute later, she says she's leaving to go to a hotel.
It's just very back and forth.
Yeah. I think they forgot that it was too dark. It's so weird. What else we got? I like how the little vehicle that I don't know what that was that he drove out of the garage, out of the barn. What was that?
Where it came from or anything.
Yeah. He just drives his vehicle out and it's tiny, but yet strong enough to tip over an entire truck.
He pulls a tricycle out of the barn, a little mini car out of the barn. And then the part when he gets pulled over in the little car is hilarious.
See, now let's talk about these little vehicles because the tricycle I didn't question. For whatever reason, I didn't question it. I didn't question the car either. Like he got it from where? The toy store? The pawn shop?
He's just magic. Like you can't question it. He can just make stuff appear.
Now, I did question the cop pulling over the toy car. I don't understand why a cop would pull over a toy car, but...
And it was a very routine traffic stop as well.
Yeah, very routine. Yeah, the cop didn't even, like, make any... or he didn't even notice that it was a leprechaun, right? Or did he?
No, he didn't.
Did he say, "What are you?"
I can't remember if he questioned him itself, but just how normal he acted while doing this traffic stop. I was like, what?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, okay. So let's go over the rules. I mean, that's something else we can talk about. The rules of the leprechaun. So if you steal its bag of gold, which do we find out early in the movie that it has 100 gold pieces in it exactly? Or do we only find that out when he's counting them?
It's when he's counting them and he says 99 and then makes a big deal.
But that's like halfway through the movie. But they don't mention that it's 100 gold pieces earlier, right?
Yeah, I can't remember in that early monologue or voiceover in the very beginning because Grady stole his whole bag, not just one coin.
Right, he stole the whole bag. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's later on that's when we find out the 100 pieces.
100 pieces. So We'll see if that continues in the further movies. Wow, what a movie. So then we find out from O'Grady, who's dying O'Grady, coming through the elevator roof. We find out about the 4-leaf clover.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Colby, does a 4-leaf clover kill the leprechaun?
No, technically no, it doesn't.
What does it allow?
To keep him trapped.
No, well, but it also, if you touch him...
Oh, and loses powers.
He loses his powers, and you can kill him.
Yes.
So that's what happens. That's what happens. We talked about it in the 3-minute recap, but I did like Alex using gum and a slingshot to, instead of just like, running up to the leprechaun and sticking it to him,
Yeah.
I like that he used the slingshot. That was cool.
And the effects of when he starts melting before he gets knocked into the well, I loved those effects. They looked really good, I thought.
Yes, I agree. I did love those effects as well. He looked amazing. Like, you can tell most of the budget for this movie went into making the leprechaun look awesome.
Mm-hmm. Which they succeeded, because I think it's a very iconic look.
Absolutely. Yeah. I also really liked some of the lighting. So I don't know why the well glowed green from inside, but I love that.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. And you do run it, like, even today, but a lot of times in the 90s movies and late 80s movies were just so dark and you couldn't see anything. So I thought the lighting for everything was really well.
Yeah. I also like that the clover patch glowed green.
Yeah, I like that.
See, that was kind of cool. I wish they had done more of that though in the movie. Like, I wish if they were going to give the movie kind of a neon shine to it, I wish they had done a little bit more of that.
Yeah, and there's a few things it goes into, like with the leprechaun's origins with this, like the shoe shining, the 4-leaf clover, stuff like that. But it goes into a lot more of its origins, like throughout each movie, which I think is another reason, like the better things that the later movies bring.
So I would hope, here's my hope, and I don't want you to tell me whether I'm going to be happy or sad, but my hope is that, as you said, we learn more about his origins. I know we're going to learn more about his origins. I mean, it's impossible not to. But I also hope that they maintain these rules that they've created in this movie. And I hope some of them come back. Like, I do want to see more of the shoe shining, and I don't know if we will yet. But I'm also curious as to how he comes back, because let me ask you something. If you poured gasoline into a well and then dropped a match into that well, what do you think would really happen, Colby?
Oh, I don't think it would explode.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I know it would catch fire.
Yeah. But yeah, it exploded. So I'm going to assume, here's my guess, and we'll find out in our next Leprechaun episode, if I'm correct. I'm going to guess that there was a hole at the bottom of the well somewhere. I'm going to guess that he pulled a Michael Myers and crawled into a crawl space, and that's how he survived. And that the melting that happened from the 4-leaf clover, which that's another weird thing. Like, it's only supposed to make him vulnerable, but man, the 4-leaf clover melted his flesh.
Mm-hmm.
So the 4-leaf clover is like kryptonite to him. Okay, we're getting it. So now I'm starting to love this movie. So
you gonna bump it back up to 2.5?
Yeah, maybe 2 and 2.25.
2.25. Okay, I'll take it.
So yeah, I think that's what I think. I think he finds a crawl space in the well. I think there's a secret little entrance or something down there. Now, I've said this before during certain episodes. This is a cliche of 80s and 90s horror movies, but it happens in other horror movies. One thing I absolutely love is when the last night of a horror movie happens and it's like a good bit of the movie takes place over this night. And then at the very end of the movie, it ends with the sun coming up and the people, like, there's lots of movies that do this, my friend. You know what I'm talking about, right? Where the sun's coming up and it's like, oh, it's the next morning. And I mean, Gremlins ended like that, you know?
Very cliche endings.
But I love it. I love that feeling like they've just defeated this evil and now it's a new day and the sun's coming up and it's nice. So,
it's like bringing happiness back to you.
Yeah. Yes, Colby. Happiness. But yeah, I like the end. I like that the cops are finally showing up.
Mhm.
What else? Do you have anything else? Because I think I'm ready for 3 questions. But if you have anything else, the music. What did you think of the music of this movie?
I don't even remember it, honestly.
So the composer of this score was Kevin Kiner, and he has composed the music for the Clone Wars animated
really?
series. Yeah. And other things. I think, I can't remember if he did Ahsoka, but he's done a lot of different Star Wars stuff. I didn't hate it, and I would totally listen to this if there was a soundtrack, but I couldn't find one. I'm sure maybe there was one back in 93, but it was kind of forgettable. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
It was kind of generic, but it did have some really interesting, like, I could tell he was trying to make it sound Irish at times,
Yes.
but
It was like Americanized Irish.
very much so. But I think, I'd have to look. I think this is probably one of Kiner's first jobs. So, and that's it. Yeah, with that, let's, you ready for 3 questions, buddy?
I am.
Who would cross the bridge of death must answer me these questions 3.
You're the guest, so I'm gonna ask you first.
Okay.
Colby Does Horror, famous Colby Does Horror, star of the Willowbrook,
Tapes.
tapes. Thank you. Question number 1: what did you think was the best kill or death in Leprechaun?
Definitely the pawn shop owner with the pogo stick.
I have to agree with you. I wish it was a little more gory.
Mhm.
We only have 4 deaths. The rest of them are kind of boring.
Yeah,
So-
I'd say so.
I don't think anybody would pick any other death in this movie except for this. Question number 2, the most interesting question of all, and you've kind of answered it. Do you think Leprechaun is scary?
As a child, yes, but now, no.
Do you think anybody could get scared of this movie?
Just younger people, definitely. Like, I don't think, like, they're all very comedic, except for Origins. But yeah, it's like Freddy Krueger as a kid. Like, it's just the imagery of Freddy himself. So just the imagery of Leprechaun looks terrifying.
But Freddy was scary. Freddy in Nightmare on Elm Street 1 was freaking scary. I've told the famous story of a young Scotty, 11-year-old Scotty, watching Nightmare on Elm Street late at night and being so scared that I had to turn on Dumbo afterwards because I was scared to go to sleep. But that's another episode. Question number 3, buddy. Did you have fun with horror?
I had a blast.
Yes.
This is the first episode I've done with you that was actually fun with horror.
Wow. What? I thought no, come on.
Circus of the
you
Dead
think
was
it's
fun, but it's fun in a different way.
Okay. Yeah, okay. And everybody out there, this is the 3rd episode that Colby has done with me. The first one was, the first one was the coffee table,
Heavy
which
one.
it's on our main feed now. That was our very first Patreon, but I decided to put it on the main feed. The second movie Colby and I did together was Circus of the Dead, because Colby and I, we had a dream that we would do movies that were too extreme for Andrew. But then we've talked in the interim, and I don't think we're going to really carry that on because it's not really appropriate for our fun with horror Patreon listeners. So Leprechaun is much more fun.
Agreed.
That said, I only had half fun watching this movie. I have fun
Half
at
fun?
times. Half fun. Yes. I think so. Like I said, I think half of this movie, I think the Leprechaun is a fun guy, but ultimately I think the story is pretty dumb, and I think it's poorly paced.
Mhm.
I find myself looking at my phone too much, and when I do that, that means I'm not having fun, Colby. But
yeah, it's hard to argue that because yes, the Leprechaun's fun, and then Ozzy and Alex are very fun, but just like the chemistry with Jennifer Aniston and Nathan, it's just I'd rather have seen Lep or Ozzy and Alex.
Okay. Yeah. See, there you go. I realize that a lot of people don't take this movie very seriously, and I tried really hard not to as well.
Mhm.
I just think it's a silly movie, and I can have fun. I hate saying that I don't like a movie, but I just don't care for this one, and it's fine.
Mhm.
That said, I am looking forward to watching the rest of the series because I realize that these are dumb movies, and I assume that they lean into that some. Obviously he goes to space and he's in the hood for 2 movies, so we'll see. But yeah, there we go. That is Leprechaun.
Ozzy, you didn't tell them that it was a leprechaun, did you?
Of course I did. That's what it was, wasn't it?
All right. Well, Colby, I forgot to mention one thing about Leprechaun that I thought was kind of cool.
What's that?
Warwick Davis said that even more than the makeup or anything else, what got him into character the most was when he put the shoes on. Because the little leprechaun shoes, they formulated the way he ended up walking, and it was just, that's what made him feel like the leprechaun. So I just thought that was
Do you think he ever shined them before he put them on?
Probably for hours.
He had to have. He had to have
at least made a joke shining them. But normally this is the part of the podcast where Andrew and I reveal what our next movie is, but we already did that in our last episode. So I'm going to mention once again that in our next episode number 148, Andrew and I will be talking about No One Will Save You, which is streaming on Hulu. Other than that, Colby and I, throughout probably this year, will be discussing the other movies in the Leprechaun series, but that's only on our Fun with Horror Patreon. If you look at the description of this podcast, the link to our Patreon is there. If you'd like to support Fun with Horror, there's a number of people that do right now. And I'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons right now. And this is something I plan to do more often, which is thanking our patrons by name. Ari 81 Borakua, thank you. Chuddle the Brian, Dr. Eric, Fun Size Bun, Janelle Essman, Jess Echo, Kate Lamp, Lou Sassol, and that Lou Sassol, that sounds familiar. Who's that?
I forgot I made my name that on Patreon.
Lou Sassol. That's so funny. That's a really good name. Lou Sassol. Yeah, thanks, Colby. You made me curse on our
I made you break
podcast.
your own rule.
You made us break the rule. But no, it's not. I didn't say a bad word. It's just the last name. Sasshole. Anyway, back to it. Stanley from the Gory Gaze podcast. Susan Kim. Those are our patrons, and we love you all. And thank you so much for being patrons. Colby, patron with horror. Besides doing future episodes on the Leprechaun series with me on our Patreon, what else do you have going on? What's going on?
Man, me and my co-host Ian Van Gool, we also have a podcast called the House of Ghouls Horror Movie Podcast. Most of the episodes are interviews with directors, actors, other content creators, and once in a while, Ian and I just have fun, hang out, talk. We usually have fun topics. Like the next one that we are doing alone is going to be a Valentine's Day special episode. And we are going to pick 6 movies. We always do 6 because we don't like odd numbers. So we pick 6 movies. We are going to write a fake but still accurate synopsis about a horror movie, and we are going to try to have the other one guess. So, for example, one I wrote was for...
Wait, so Ian, if you're listening to this right now, turn off the podcast because he's going to give away one of his answers. Go ahead.
So this is actually for a video I'm doing because I'm doing a video about it too. So this one won't be on the episode. I said this one, it's about a husband and wife who are struggling with the loss of their son. So they head to a cabin to try to reignite their flame. I said it's very trippy. It's like a messed up love story on acid and a lot of genital play.
Oh.
This one is definitely for freakier couples. Or who knows, if it's a first date, it could help you guys learn a lot about each other. There's a lot of metaphors. It's very artsy, but it's definitely worth a watch.
Now, before we talk about what movie this is, I just want to commend you right now, Colby. When you came on the podcast, we're like, you know, and you always try your hardest not to curse on our podcast because you know that we try to be family friendly here.
Yes.
And I've read this synopsis that you just read out loud, and you have some naughty words in that synopsis, and you censored yourself right now.
I did.
That was amazing. Very good.
I forgot I sent you that. I forgot that I sent you that last night.
Yeah, very good. I'm proud of you.
But yeah, so we're gonna make up an accurate but fake synopsis to make it sound like a love story, and the others have to guess what movie they're talking about.
All right. So everybody out there, take a moment. Can you guess what movie Colby just described? And can we say what it is now?
Antichrist.
There it is. Antichrist. So there you go. The Valentine's romantic movie of the year, Antichrist.
But yeah, other than our podcast, I do horror movie news, reviews. I've done a couple solo interviews with some special actors and directors, but you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube under Colby Does Horror.
That's right. And you're still my favorite, buddy. You're still my favorite.
I appreciate that, Scotty. I appreciate that.
Of all the horror talkers, or whatever you call yourselves these days, all the cool kids are calling themselves.
Yeah, and it's funny because me and you were friends before I even started any of those pages.
That's right. That's right. And I was like, look at this guy. He's already starting up his own podcast. And then you just blew up.
Yeah, I got lucky with a couple videos that went viral, and my goal now is to hit 100,000 followers before the end of April, which is my 1 year mark. So I think having over 100K would be a pretty cool thing for what I've been doing.
There you go, everybody. If you're still listening and you don't follow Colby Does Horror, go follow him. Give him 100,000. Let's do it.
Most of my reviews too, they're all spoiler free. And if I do a spoiler episode or a spoiler video, obviously I give warnings, but
yeah. And I mean, you have had videos where, you just did not care for a movie, but I do love your enthusiasm for movies. And that's why I love to talk to you because, we're kind of the same brain as Andrew and myself and some others that I know, where we just try our best to enjoy a movie, even if it's not the best. Like Leprechaun, yeah, sure, it drags at times and it's a silly movie, but I still have fun during some moments of it, and I can still look at the positive aspects of it.
Yeah.
And you do the same.
Yeah, I try to push out a lot of indie horror movies that people don't know about to shed light on indie horror. But if I watch one that I just absolutely don't like I can't even find anything redeemable about it, especially if it's a screener, I still thank them, but I tell the company that I just rather not review this one to keep a good relationship with them. But for the most part, I think I'm really good at finding stuff I still like about movies that I don't enjoy. So I can say, even though this movie didn't hit with me, here's what I did like. And I think there's some redeeming values that you might like. So
I love that. That's wonderful. I love that. Thank you, Colby.
Yeah, but if it's something big like Universal, Blumhouse, I'll say all the negatives I want.
Oh, okay. Did you like Wolfman?
I liked it a lot more than I thought it would.
Okay.
I would. I don't like the marketing that Blumhouse chose to do.
Yes.
But I really appreciate what Lee Wanell did with it. It was something new with Wolfman lore and werewolf lore in general. I liked how he focused more on the body horror aspect of that. But yeah, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it.
Very good. All right. I meant to ask you that at the beginning of the podcast, and so I asked you that at the end of the podcast. So there you go. All right, buddy. Thank you, Colby. Thank you for listening to our podcast. Thank you for being on the podcast. And, of course, thank you for being a patron.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Obviously, I reached out to you because I was listening to your podcast, and I was like, hey, I love your podcast. And we started talking and became friends after that. So I'm thankful for your podcast, man.
Me too. Well, I mean, I'm thankful you listened to it. I mean,
and it's always an honor whenever you ask me to come on.
Well, we're going to be doing at least 7 other movies in the future.
Yeah.
I'd like to get through them this year. But until then, everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you so much for listening. Andrew will be back next episode with No One Will Save You. If you're not a patron and you want to hear Colby and I talking about more Leprechaun movies, or if you want to hear me talking about movies that I saw, which I'm starting to do more often, I do it at least once a month, and I'm going to try and do it a little bit more. If you just want to support the podcast, $5 a month, It helps me and Andrew. It helps us keep going. It pays our monthly stuff, and it helps us with our technology and all that. Anyway, it just helps us. So if you want to support the podcast, go on over to Patreon, look up the Fun with Horror podcast, and thank you again to everybody who's already a patron. This is Scotty.
And this is Colby.
And thank you so much. We love you. I love you all.
I love you more.
Colby loves all of you more than I do. There you go. There you have it. All right, everybody have a great week and whatever you're doing. Bye-bye.
Are you okay? I heard you scream. Oh.
I thought that was you rubbing my leg.
You let me?
That's not the point.